Okay, it's good to be here with you.
It's great to be here with you too. Thanks for
Um,
having me.
yeah, of course. Thank you for being here. So, well, formally introducing myself, my name is Sophia, and I am in the marketing team of Evolution One. So, I take care of social media and other things. And so, yeah, I guess this interview has as a purpose to kind of get some juiciness from you and your experience of your spiritual path and what has led you to this point in time and your thoughts about maybe like what you want to continue doing or how you're feeling at the moment, anything that you want to share. How long have you been on the spiritual path, roughly?
I don't know. It's always kind of a funny question. It's when you look back on your life, in some ways you realize you were on it before you even knew you were. But I think for me, I started meditating around 2014, so about 11 years ago. But I would say I had an awakening experience in 2018, and that was really kind of a big catalyst for me. That
Mm,
was kind of one of those moments in life where you look back and you're like, oh, there was everything before that moment and then everything after. Yeah.
okay. Could you describe your inner state before beginning this path?
Yeah. Before beginning working with Evolution One or just before starting a spiritual path?
Yeah, I think just the spiritual path.
Yeah, I mean, probably pretty typical, at least for an American, I would suppose, kind of that idea of get into college, get the best education you can get, find a good job, and then get off and running out into the world, earning a good income. I mean, these are all just kind of stereotypical ideas that we have been conditioned to think will make us happy and
Mm,
create a fulfilled life. And so I did that. And, I can't claim to have done it really well or really terribly. I just was out there doing it. And I very quickly realized it wasn't making me happy. I mean, I'll share one thing. When I was growing up, I thought earning $100,000 would be just crazy amount of money, like so much money. And I thought I'd really have it made if I could earn $100,000 and was fortunate that soon after college was earning that amount of money and very quickly realized I am no happier now than I was before. And I still have all these questions and uncertainties and challenges, and nothing really fundamentally changed.
mhm,
And that kind of got me in a very nascent way wondering like, well, what if this isn't how you do life, then what more is there? And it took a while after that before I started um, understanding more about who and what we actually are and what we broadly call spirituality and some of the spiritual practices, and before I actually started implementing them in my life. So I think my experience is probably very typical compared to a lot of people, at least Western American type experiences.
mm. Yeah. What about your experience of the spiritual path? How has that changed from then versus now?
Yeah, well, when you know, I I think I always have had a sense of there being more to what's going on, but in fact, I know I did when I was a teenager. I would know of things before they happened, kind of having premonitions. I would see them in my mind's eye, and then a few minutes later or an hour later, they would happen in the real world. So I was always really curious, like, wow, there's something more happening here than we're really taught or that we've been led to believe. But it was always kind of in the background and off to the side. And it wasn't until 2014 where I found myself in this moment in life where I had gone through a lot of pain. For me, it was co-founding a business and working really hard at it for 2 years, having a falling out with my co-founder, leaving, and all the conditions in my life just kind of lined up for me to take a pause and kind of reevaluate, well, what am I doing here? And you know, it's kind of there's that old saying, the teacher will arrive when the student is ready. And that's
Mm,
totally what happened for me. This book dropped in my lap called Search Inside Yourself. It was all about mindfulness and meditation and emotional intelligence. And there just was a lot of validation like, wow, this is real. There's science behind this. And there's this whole world that I've kind of known about, but haven't really taken any time to understand or to experience myself. So then I just started meditating and was fortunate enough to start working for that very company, Search Inside Yourself. So managed to have this whole culture and environment that really supported that. They prioritize, go take retreats at least once a year. We'll pay for it, really prioritize your spiritual development. It was a very special time in my life and special organization. I'm so grateful for it. And that really helped me kind of get off and running. And I think the biggest difference between before and after, I don't know that there was like a clean before and after. It's kind of this gradual process with kind of big jumps every once in a while. It's just that over time, you begin to, I guess, identify less and less with things that are more ephemeral and really are less important. And you begin to realign your identity and your sense and your experience of yourself with that bigger part of ourselves. There's so many names for it: higher self, soul, spirit, um, divinity, whatever anyone wants to call it. For anyone watching this video, you probably already have had experiences with that or have a deep sense of it. So this is nothing new to you, but it's just this process of that becoming more and more central to your experience of life, that way of perceiving things.
Wow, yeah, that's really well put. So if you look back on your path, would you consider there being like a milestone or like a specific moment that comes to mind that really shifted everything, or has it been more of like a gradual process?
I mean, there was definitely one moment that I can share for sure, and maybe to a lesser degree, one or two other ones. But I guess I would just caution anyone listening to this right now and say that I think the majority of the time, for the majority of people, it's just a process. And sometimes it's the progress, if we can even call it that. That's a very human way of thinking about it, may be imperceptible. And that's fine. Things are still changing, even if we're not aware of them. And it's human nature. I still fall into this trap too. We want like some big moment where it's really obvious and tangible. Well, I am different now than I
Mhm.
was just 10 minutes ago. And that those happen from time to time, maybe not as in the big, mega, powerful, bright light ways that we'd like them to. So that's more of the norm. Now, having said that, every once in a while, there can be kind of these crazy, out of the ordinary experiences, Kundalini awakening, or some big energetic experience, or some big insight about yourself. But they tend to happen, in my experience, when you're least expecting them. And, I'd been meditating 4 or 5 years every day, really into the practice. Can't claim to have been doing it with any degree of mastery. I just kept showing up. If anything, I think that's what's been my biggest thing. I just keep doing it. I was on retreat and some very unexpected big energy experiences happened. We'd broadly probably call them Kundalini experiences. And um, information and beings and energetic experiences were kind of the default norm for me for 5 or 6 days during this retreat. And then that energy slowly kind of faded away after I left the retreat. And, I feel like these big awakenings, when we have them, really start getting us curious about kind of the true nature of reality, the true nature of ourselves. And they also kind of give us a high watermark. They kind of show you, like, wow, this is what could be possible for you. These experiences, this energy, the way I was feeling, I felt so clear, so aligned, no fear.
Mm.
It was really amazing. And within a week or two, that all went away and it was, kind of snapped back to reality. And I've come to realize that it was just an experience to show me that over time, this can become your default way of being. And this is kind of what you can work towards. So it was a beautiful kind of inspiration experience in that sense. And yeah, like I said, it's been more gradual since then. Periodic punctuated moments of progress, but for the most part, it's just been this ongoing, sometimes very imperceptible process of change and evolution within myself. And, I can look back now and see that I'm very different than I was then,
Right.
but day to day, week to week, it's maybe not quite as perceptible.
Yeah, yeah, that's so true. I think it's also being just like really kind and gentle with yourself. Because
Yeah.
sometimes it might seem like, oh, I already learned this, and then suddenly it's like coming up again in your experience. But maybe it's just like another layer of depth. And so it's like it's just all part of the human experience. I've also had like these moments where I'm like, wow, like I feel so at one with everything, and it's like peace. And then suddenly I'm like, but isn't it nice to be human and to feel emotions and to just, I guess, suffer a little bit, even if it sounds a little bit dramatic. I also think that's also part of it. Like when we first start thinking of the spiritual path, at least in my experience, you think of like peace all the time
Mm,
and these like really tangible moments of enlightenment where it's like you said, like most of the time you don't even notice that you're changing, and yet we are.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's nice to get reminded of that as well sometimes. So I think the guides are really like having the guides and like hearing their wisdom can be really comforting because of that as well, because they remind you of things that maybe you need to be reminded of.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more. There's so many times where I'll go back and reread transcripts or listen to old videos, and you kind of need that just heartening moment to remind you everything's okay and this is part of the human experience. We signed up for this. We're
Yeah.
we're here for a reason, especially the community, the Evolution One community. It's a very unique spiritual community in my experience amongst all the sort of spiritual practices and lineages and communities. It's absolutely an accelerated path, and maybe not for everyone, and that's okay, that's fine. And part of this journey of the guides describe it as alignment. That's the word they use, and I've come to adopt that word too. It's the best way I know to describe it, where we as a human are coming into greater and greater alignment with that bigger part of ourselves, to the point where more and more of that bigger part of ourselves is inhabiting and embodied here within us, living through this human experience. And that process is a lot of oftentimes letting go of our judgments and letting go of our conditioning, yeah, our conditioning, but our conditional love as well,
Mm.
our beliefs that don't serve us. And you were describing how sometimes it circles back and it's like, oh, maybe this is another layer. And yeah, that's been my experience. It's not a linear process, and that it does definitely tend to be more um, kind of a spiral in a way.
Yeah.
And that's not my original idea. I heard that somewhere else, and it really matches well with my personal experience too. Yeah.
Yeah, the spirals. That's actually when I first started getting into like the spiritual path, I read a book called Siddhartha. Have you read it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there's a quote from that book. I can't remember the exact quote, but yeah, like that really struck me. Like when I read that, and it's about the spiral. It's about like it looks like we're going in circles, but life is actually an upward spiral. I think that's sort of like the quote.
Beautiful.
So yeah, I love that analogy, and it's so true. You mentioned the community of Evolution One, and I see you've been pretty involved, right? Like, can you tell me a little bit about your experience? getting involved in the community?
Sure. Yeah. A friend of mine told me about a seal, and at the time it had a different name in like early 2020. And at that time, it was right when the lockdowns started for COVID here in the US at least. And Asil and the team were doing these weekly, I think even maybe twice a week, online channeled sessions. You could ask questions, and I don't remember how many people were attending, maybe 100 or a couple hundred. It felt very nascent at the time.
Mhm.
Um, and something about it just clicked with me, and I stuck with it, started doing some of the courses that were offered, and Pillars of Light and Earth Keepers. Although those may have different names now. So if you're watching this, check out and get the real names now. Um, and I don't know, it just really touched me, resonated with me, felt like something I really wanted to be a part of and continue pursuing. And so I've been a member since then, which actually, I guess that's only 5 years, but it feels like a lot longer. And then involved in the community, there are small, I shouldn't say small, but there are kind of subgroups within the community that gather and practice in particular ways. And there are a few I've been involved with. One's around Earth Keepers in Service, where we'll come together as a group, pick a sacred site, and we'll all uh, go into meditation and open to these energies that we've been trained to align with and allow that to help. Um, Create change in a tangible way or sometimes a very not tangible way. I know I'm being a little vague. Sometimes it can just be these energetic transmissions and you're not really sure what's happening, but you have a sense that something's happening. Other times it can be very tangible and information rich, and you can feel feel or sense or see how something has shifted or changed both within yourself and the sacred site in the area. It's really beautiful work. And then the other one was around Pillars of Light and coming together as a group, opening to the channel for ourselves, and then sometimes directing that energy in particular ways around Earth. And it's been powerful. It's been deeply rewarding to know and to experience firsthand that our individual consciousness and our collective consciousness as a group can actually create real change for humans, for Earth, and that all that change initially starts in an energetic way, but then comes and has a real tangible material effect, um, helping essentially to raise the consciousness of humanity. And it's really incredible and beautiful work, and I love being a part of it. And if this resonates with anyone watching this, I highly encourage you to start joining the community and practicing in these ways and to develop your abilities with Evolution One and through their offerings. It's deeply rewarding.
Mm, yeah, if it resonates, of course. I feel like there's so many different things that you can do, right, in your spiritual path. Um, and I guess going for full circle outside of the community, how do you think this work impacts the people around you? Like, do you think it has like a direct impact?
Oh yeah, for sure. And there's kind of, I guess you can look at this through a couple of different lenses. One is when you complete the Earth Keeper's path or when you complete the Pillars of Light path, you're able to, I basically, you're collaborating with other energies, other beings. You now have a direct relationship with them. And if somebody gives you permission, you can open to these energies on their behalf and more or less function as a bridge, allowing these energies to come through and support the other person. So that's one level of impact. It can have a very direct and tangible effect on people. They'll sometimes feel things energetically, have insights, realizations. It accelerates their evolution and their process of coming into alignment with their soul. their divinity. So that's very direct and tangible. But then also, and perhaps this is even more powerful, is that for myself, and I think this is true, I think this is, I believe this is how it works, that the energy we carry, the frequency we carry, has a tangible effect on the people around us. And, we can all, everyone's had this experience where you walk into a room and you can feel from the people who are in there that there must have been a fight just moments
Mm,
before. It just feels really tense. You can feel that energy. So that's frequency. We're all holding a frequency all the time. And this work with Evolution One, this process of coming into alignment, can also be described as raising your frequency. And that, in my view, my experience, that's because more of this bigger part of ourselves, the highest frequency aspect of our being, our soul, our divinity, is becoming more and more present here within us as we live our lives. And people around us consciously and subconsciously pick up on that. They feel that. They feel the quality of your presence. They feel the quality of the way you go about life. And sometimes it may bubble up in a conscious way and they may ask you, like, what are you doing? Like, something feels different. And I want to know more about this, or it just feels really good, or um, you'll get people who are interested. They just want to know what you've done. And then oftentimes it just happens in a subconscious way, even though we might not have an awareness of how it's impacting those around us. Our frequency, our presence is always affecting one another wherever we go, whatever we're doing. I have another teacher completely separate from Evolution One who would say that our frequency is our greatest contribution uh, to all that we do. And I just want to mention that person's name. Her name's Kelly Thebo, and uh, it's been a very powerful way for me to think about our service here as we're humans and the impact we can have. And the guides through a seal, they talk a lot about frequency too, and they talk about these concepts in sometimes less direct ways, but you can see that it's all present there in their teachings and the information they're offering to us as well. So it's really powerful.
mm, yeah, it is. Really eloquently put. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I love hearing the way you explain these things.
Cool. I hope it's helpful.
It is.
It's
Yeah.
just one person's experience.
No, but it's like you say, like even if it's just one person's experience, like the impact that it can have, we can't even imagine.
Yeah, I mean that's just it. Like it's easy to daydream a situation where, you're at the grocery store and something you say somehow has this very tangible impact on a person in the line behind you who just overheard what you were saying. Maybe you weren't even speaking to them directly. And then that effect ripples out through them and their life and their acquaintances. And it's just, it's, it's very difficult. It reaches this point where words really don't begin to capture the way we affect one another. And it's almost like we're just these ripples moving through this vast body of water, and all of us are doing it all the time. And these ripples are interacting in ways that we can't even begin to comprehend or become aware of. But it's all there and it's all happening and it's all making a contribution.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Words are sometimes really hard it's hard to explain these things with words. Um, but if you could distill your experience into one teaching, what would that be?
I mean, for me, and this is informed by so many teachers and perhaps even more importantly, my own direct and personal experience over and over and over again. And that's that um, everything is frequency, everything is energy. And to the extent that we can hold, or rather return to our natural state of being, which is a high frequency, then we're helping to shape the evolution of all of human consciousness. And the importance then becomes placed on our own personal and direct experience, taking responsibility for our frequency and becoming more and more aware of that internal experience that we have all the time. What is the state of my emotions, my thoughts, my physical being, my frequency that I'm emanating out into the world? And as you change within yourself, it's changing the entire external world also. So I guess the one sentence to land it would be um, all real change starts within yourself. And
Well,
it all begins and ends there, actually. Yeah.
that's really powerful, especially in the times that we're living in. I feel like people are really disempowered, in terms of like the impact that they feel like they can have in the world. Like we see so many things like in the news and the media, and at the end of the day, what you said is so true. Like the only thing you can do is take care of your own frequency and
Yeah.
work on your own energy. And just by doing that, you're already doing the biggest service you can to humanity.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the place where we have the most power to create the most change, and it will have the biggest effect that we can create ourselves, all beginning and ending right here within us. We're really, I love that you use the word power or empowered because that's something I'm really passionate about. I I've come to understand and believe that each of us individually and as a collective humanity are extremely powerful in our ability to create our realities and our collective reality. And it's time for us to begin to wake up and to remember that that is who and what we actually are, and to begin to exercise that power. And again, all of that, all of everything I just described is, for the most part, this internal experience, this internal movement, this internal aligning and standing in your power. And the more and more of us that do the more our world is going to accelerate and radically change. And I think, I mean, there's a lot going on in the world right now, but I feel like we're just at the very beginning in some
Mhm.
ways of us individually and collectively starting to remember this and to exercise this power within ourselves. And as more and more of us do, our world is going to radically change.
Yeah, I truly believe that as well. Yeah, that's what we're doing here. I think that's the best we can do.
Yeah,
And yeah, just have faith.
yeah. And sometimes the most radical thing we can do is just turn off the television and go outside and do something that brings us joy. And that can be the most radical act of activism imaginable. Go swim in the ocean, go laugh with your friends, because that frequency, that joy, that presence, it's your experience and it's beautiful. And who doesn't want that? But you holding that, you radiate that out into the entire world. And the more and more of us who do that more often and who are able to come into that place of greater and greater alignment where that becomes our default way of being, our default frequency, that's where things really start to accelerate. So, in a way, you could almost say if you want to create the world you really desire and want to live in, then find what brings you joy and align with that as much as you can in your life.
Hmm. That's beautiful. Thank you, Tyler.
Yeah.
It's really been a pleasure. I feel like you just gave me like downloads, downloads on downloads.
Well, I mean, that's amazing. And it's nothing you didn't already know or have within you. And I feel like we're just helping each other remember.
Yep, we're all just walking each other home.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't say that. Rhonda said that.
Go Ram Dass. Seems
Yeah,
like you knew something.
he did. Great being. Well, thank you so much. I think, is there anything else you want to say or?
No, I don't think so. Just thank you. It's been fun to have this conversation with you and fun to get to know you a little bit more. So thanks.
Yeah, it's been fun. Thanks for floating in space with me.
That's right. Well, get outside, go do something fun tonight, and maybe I'll see you around in the Evolution One community.
Yeah, I think for sure we'll see each other.
Sounds awesome.